There we go.
And there we are together today. There's a full house today, 4 of us, I think, and seems like we're all sending our video. Yeah. Can't get much better than that. So I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
I'm Max.
Max is always here.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm also here, Max Anderson.
Emmanuel's almost always here, but he's been missing for the last 2 shows.
I just took like a long PTO essentially, plus recovery. So okay, but I'm back.
Back in full force, and today we have Tako with us. Tako, want to introduce yourself?
Hi. Well, I am a software engineer with Red Hat. I've been working on all kinds of things, but lately I've been helping Max with what we're going to talk about today here at JBang, and that's been really interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah, let's go.
So I think maybe like before we get into all the JBang stuff you guys are going to show, maybe we talk about a little bit of some of the Quarkus news. So Emmanuel or Max, you want to take that?
I'll do the first one, just a little information. So this is actually the first time we're using a thing called RStream to go out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter at the same time. So if anyone could just let us know if you hear what we're saying.
Yeah, send a message to the chat, because we're not seeing any message, which is awkward for a classical Quarkus.
So I just checked, we are live, so we should be there. It's just, waiting for it to come in.
Well,
so,
YouTube, that is it. Or...
Yeah, so go ahead and send your
quick.
messages. Yeah. So any of those 3 platforms that Max mentioned, if you chat, we should be able to see the chat. All right, Jonathan. Let's see. We have a message from Jonathan. Oh, it works well on YouTube. Excellent. That's great to hear.
So at least got one.
Excellent.
Yeah.
By the way, how do we chat, actually?
I'll send that to you. I'll give you the link.
Awesome. So you see, we prepared well in advance. Hey, let's switch a platform. You know, it's like we do A/B testing, except we just have A. But that's okay.
I did send you earlier today. You can try and test, but you didn't show up. So that's
Yeah, sorry. I do have a job, man.
Well, but I got to tell you, I can chat. It's just you guys can't, unless you follow this excellent URL that Max has somewhere hidden.
Yeah, then it works. Anyway, that was the other news. Yeah. And then, Emmanuel, do you want to do the 1.8 news, or should I?
So I don't have anything in front of me, but from what I understand, 1.8 CR is out. So if you want to give us a big help and try this new release, this is the one that is essentially, we expect it to be the stable one before we actually create the last stable one, and then the ecosystem is building on top of that one. So within 2 weeks, you actually get a Quarkus 1.8. So please do find bugs, and we can improve that in the meantime. The big change is essentially a better integration with JBang, which we're going to talk about today. So maybe we are going to test with 1.8 LC1 CR1, I suppose.
And the other one that we won't talk about today, at least not unless someone asks for it, is the multiple persistent units. That I've been waiting for basically since I joined. So we had this limit in Quarkus since forever that you could only have 1 persistent unit, just to keep things simple. We didn't want to add support for multiple until we actually had a use case for it. But then Quarkus rolled out version 1, and it came back like, hey, I actually have a use case where I want to connect to a MySQL and a Postgres at the same time and expose as a service. So now in 1.8, that's the fundamentals for that stuff is coming in. So that should be good. So
and well, I'll just go real quick and say what other big things we have. We have a new micrometer extension, or micrometer, whatever you might want to call it. So that's like a different metrics, let's say, library. Then we also have we upgraded to GraalVM 20.2. And then there's a bunch of improvements across the board, right? But those are like the big
ones.
Big ones, yeah.
Micrometer, please give us the feedback, because That's an interesting one. Micrometer has something interesting, which is multiple backends compared to the small Y macro profile implementation. So that's an alternative if you're not using Prometheus or using something else, and there is the backend in Micrometer for that. That's an interesting one that we want to know about, and also from a keeping stuff in production and figuring out when things are wrong. Like, what do you like best usually? Is it working better for you in Micrometer versus what we had before? So please give us some feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we jump into the JBang stuff, the meat of today.
Sure. Let me just switch over and see if that works.
Can you remove the hello comment?
I tried, but it's not leaving.
Have to make a new comment.
Yeah, someone needs to make a new comment.
An empty one.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can put the hot ones. Okay.
Right. So what's JBang?
Anyway. So JBang is a little project I created over Christmas, actually, last year, to kind of get up to date on Java. And it was, how do you say, it was like, I kind of felt like in Quarkus, we were kind of attacking to make enterprise Java better and full cloud and native and that all shebang. So that was good. That was fun, or is fun. And with JBang, I was like, hey, I felt still like getting started with Java was hard. And even more annoying was that I saw in Quarkus build scripts, I saw there's a mix of Python and Bash, and I was like, all this stuff, why don't we actually write this in Java? Because Java lately actually has a very good platform SDK for accessing all these kind of things. So I saw this thing called KScript, which is Kotlin scripts, that had this little idea of just having small comments at the header to give dependencies, and then off you go, and you can write your Kotlin in that case. And I feel like no, I don't want to install Kotlin just to get this. Let me make it available for basic Java. So that's where JBang started. It was like Kotlin script, but just for Java. But it's kind of grown a bit further since then. But I think
I just want to mention that Groovy also had the same idea, like before Kotlin, KScript. In Groovy, you could do the same thing. Like it's other language, you just write Groovy, and it works. They have a similar concept of called grape annotation or something like that. Dependencies, yeah.
So the basic of it is the base idea is not that new, but with this JBang we don't need Groovy, we don't need Kotlin, we don't need X dependency. We can just do it like in Java, and then because of the JBang Quarkus stuff, suddenly we are connecting, like saying getting started Java with full enterprise Java with removing a lot of complexity. But let me show you, and then we can get going. So here I'm just going to show you the simplest. Hello world. It says there's a class with a main and it says hello world. And you'll see at the top here, there's like this / user bin env JBang and a lot of characters. That's just so you can run this directly. So I can do things like, let me go here. I can go hello world Java Quarkus like this, right? And it will build it. Oh, sorry, I forgot to clear my cache. Let me just do this so you can see the thing. Up, back we go. So I'm running the script, which calls JBang, which calls Java, builds a jar, and prints out the hello.
So hold on. So you're on macOS. So I guess you made your hello world.java a runnable thing. So you changed the credential.
So there's actually, if I do init something Emmanuel.java.
Yes.
Right. It will create a file, and that's actually I can run it directly.
Or the X execution.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Okay. So yes. Right. So it has the X. So that's done for you. Right.
It can be read by everybody in the world. Awesome.
Yes, that too. Right. So that's the basic. Just you can.
What the hell? What is that? That's nice.
That's a syntax highlighter, isn't it? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
It's a
No,
better
actually,
cat.
but let's finish on that. So here you're using USL bin env because you're on Mac, right? But if I was on Windows, what would I do?
So this trick here with the user bin thing works on Linux and Mac because they all have that same. It's a POSIX thing, user bin env, and it just says in the env run JBang with the first parameter, which is this. Then everything else comes afterwards. And once you're done, exit. Right? So that means in Bash or C shell or fish or whatever you're running, it will only run the first line and just ignore. And in Java, it ignores the first line because there's a comment, and then you do the rest in there.
Okay.
Right? So
and when we say like JBang, it's really what it is. Hash means this is a comment, but bang means please run the line. That's where the hash bang comes from, I think.
Yeah. So in a traditional, I don't have. If you have a normal one, you put like a what's it like? One or the other. Forgot which one.
No, I think it's hash bang. That's all.
Yeah. But the thing is, so in Java 10 or 11, whatever, they actually introduced the thing that Java files could have that in the header, so you could run Java files there. But the problem is, it doesn't work in IDEs, so it's kind of pointless. So if you put it in there, you can't edit in IDE because it thinks it's not Java. But with this trick, we do the same thing, but without having to use the JBang trick. So anyway, those are the wiring up of things. So
yeah, but hold on, Windows.
Oh, Windows. Sorry, yeah. On Windows, for now, you have to do JBang and your scripts. Right? JBang something. I am working on. I got a prototype working where it could do something, but right now it's you have to do it explicitly. So there's no means of doing this trick on Windows.
Well, you if you're using like the Git shell or any other environment.
If you use like the common like Cygwin Bash or Git Bash or Windows Subsystem Linux, Ubuntu, Fedora, whatever, then this will work too. But in like good old command prompt Windows, you will have to use JBang something, which by the way is something that KScript doesn't do. It doesn't run on Windows. You have to do the Linux Mac thing. So, okay, that was the basics. So what I wanted to show is...
one question.
You were mentioning dependencies, I think, and then I stopped you.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you going to say, George?
I have another question after you address Emmanuel's question.
Okay. So I'm just going to go and grab some code from a website, in this case JBang dev, but it could be anywhere else. And I'm just going to paste this into hello Java. So now I have this hello Java that you will see same as before, but now it's using a dependency, and this is like using / steps as a hint to JBang that hey, I want to have the dependency com GitHub alias jfiglets 00.8, and then I use that dependency in here, and let's just see how that actually looks like. So if I go hello Java. Oops, that was because I pasted it directly. Let me just do, there we go. So I go hello Java, then you see it well, you didn't see it because I had it, but it will fetch the dependency and it does this thing where you can print out. But you'll see if I put, for example, Quarkus Insights, this demo is a bit annoying because it doesn't listen to the rest. So what if I want to edit this file? You go like, you can open this up in IDE, but how does it know about dependencies? There's no Maven, there's no Gradle, there's no nothing. So we have a command that is, what do you call it? It will set up the product for you. So I'm just gonna do this. And hopefully somewhere in the back is my hello project loading. So yeah, so basically what it did here in the background was just to set up this project. So now I actually have content assist once it it goes up there for those dependencies. And if I want to fix this thing, I'll just go string, what's called join, with a space.
Yeah, I would argue that the VS Code is actually better at that size of a project for sure. Much faster.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, I'll show in 2 seconds why. By the way, you can use Hello World. No, not Hello World. You can use
Live.
VS Code. You can use Emacs. You can use VI. You can use Eclipse. Anything that understands either a Gradle project or an Eclipse project, which is like every IDE out there. So now when I run this Hello Java, we call it Insets. It's gonna look bad because it's zoomed out, but you'll see it builds a jar, and it's slow because that looks. I'm just gonna do Quarkus QE, right? That should fit. Almost.
Yeah.
You get the point, right?
We have a comment. We have a comment
Yeah.
here. It's basically touches on what I wanted to ask you as well. Here we have a comment from Sebastian, who says that I love that you can use the comment Java 15 or Java 14 to try new features from JDK really quickly, which is awesome. But I also wanted to tell you, you mentioned Java 11 earlier, right? But does this thing work on Java 8 as well?
Yes. So the way it's implemented, the current implementation works for Java 8 and upwards. If someone wanted to and make it to Java 6 and 5, it can do too, because it doesn't use anything that is, Java version specific. But what we do is it's 8 till infinity, right? 8 up till I think the latest one I tried is 16. It works with that too.
And you can use like specific features from JDK. So I didn't know about this Java 15 comment type thing that.
So
we'll talk about that.
Okay. So I'll actually. Let's Taka, are you ready to talk about it? Because then let's go to yours, and then we can go back to mine afterwards.
Okay, yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
It's
so Tako
the other way
is,
around than I expected it, but yeah.
Sure, but now we got a question. So Tako actually did this Java support and the alias stuff. So let's show that, and then after that we can do the Quarkus stuff.
Okay. So I'll do first my stuff then. So if we can switch to my terminal. So about I'll start the other way around then. I have like a small example here. It's just a small example of a new feature that's only available since Java 14, which is the switch expression format. So this should not work in anything before. So if I look at what Java version I'm currently running, I'm running 11. So if I would say JBang on this file, it will try to run it, and as expected, we get all kinds of errors. But we can actually say, I want to run this with Java 14. And it will actually, we don't say, let's do the cache clear here as well.
Yeah, so just so for those who don't know, that JBang, the way it does, it handles all the building and stuff behind it. So it seems to you have a cache for different things. One of them is downloaded JDKs.
Yeah. No. Actually, the JDK one, I won't do that because
it takes time.
Because it might take too long. But it is, in fact, like that. So if it sees that your current JDK is not the one that I'm asking for here to run, then it will actually download it from adopt.jdk. It will install it in your user directory somewhere, and it will use that then to run things. But here I had to say it specifically. So I, as a user who's probably might not have written this script, I need to know that it's using Java 14 at least. So what you can actually do is say here, no, what I want is to use Java 14. And I can actually say like, or anything that's later than Java 14. So if I now run the command I had before without the Java option, it will still work. So it will build it and it will run it. So that's actually a pretty cool feature that you, in your script, you can say this code needs at least Java 14. You can leave out the plus and then it will exactly use Java 14, but that's probably of a limited use. But,
right. So I don't need Maven and Gradle anymore. Is that what it is about?
No, you don't need Maven. You don't need Gradle.
Basically. So the other thing that Tako did was he also made JBang self-bootstrapping, we can call it. So if you just download JBang and have a script and run JBang the script, it will go and fetch Java to run it for you.
Yeah. Oh, so if you don't have Java installed,
get Java from?
Adopt what is it? Adopt JDK. Yeah.
But mind you, we've made it so that it will default use what you have locally first. Mm-hmm. Like if you have a path or a Java path, we take that first because we expect that's what you want to use. It's only if none of that matches, we'll go and say, hey, you know what? You didn't know how to install Java. Let's go and get it for you.
Or and if it's at least Java 8, I think, right, as well.
Yes, that kind of thing.
So if you don't have Java or is lower than Java 8, then it will automatically download and install it privately, and you can manage those. You can list those.
Cool. Okay. Anything else, Tako?
Well, if we want to talk about the aliases as well, or do you want to switch back to?
Go do the alias, then you can do Quarkus afterwards. Yeah.
So the idea is that with JBang, like we saw here, we just ran a local script, which is easy enough, perhaps. But the great thing with JBang is you can also go to something that's anywhere published. Let's see. Oh my God. Don't tell me that money.
HTTPS, right?
Sorry?
HTTPS, I guess.
Yeah, that could be it. Yeah.
There we go.
So you could have a script somewhere like here on a GitHub repo, and you can actually run that. So it will actually get it from that repo, and it will compile it and run it. So
that means I can run anything from the internet without checking?
No, it actually checks first. It has like a trust system where it says you're running something from remote, but I already did that. So, and then it asks if you want to trust that URL or the entire domain, stuff like that.
Yeah, so anything that is not github.com/JBang, I think, or something like that, is not trusted by default. And then you have to say, hey, I do trust this Quintus guy because that's me. And, I'm trusting myself for some reasons. And then you're good.
So one of the things this is really cool, but this becomes very pretty cumbersome very quickly because you have all these long URLs. You're not going to type that, so it's hard to type and hard to remember. So the idea was okay, we want to have like an alias system where I could use something much shorter. We had a discussion about that in the beginning, okay, but hey, your shell already has alias, so why not just use that? And the idea that we came upon in the end was okay, but first of all, Windows doesn't have that, so then they would again have something that is a little bit harder to use than on Linux or Mac. And the other thing is that not everybody who might be using, because we're targeting this to users who might not even know much about programming and the system and whatever. So it's it would be nice if you could just copy and paste stuff and it works. So we were okay, if you don't have to explain them how to make aliases and how to make them persistent, so they have to edit like dot files in their home directory and stuff like that, which is different on different systems, on different shells and whatever. So like, okay, you know what? Let's just add this to JBang itself. So we can do this. We can do JBang alias add hello, and it will add that. And then what I can do is just say hello, and it gets run anyway. So it makes things a little bit easier. So we can, if we just look at the alias, then we can see that it has things to add, to remove, and it has a list. And that moves on to the second point, because if you see a list, it says list locally defined aliases or from the given catalog. And it's like, okay, what's a catalog then? Well, that comes to then the next idea we had is like, if you have lots of, with this scripting, you're bound to end up with lots of small scripts that are very useful and that you want to keep around. And if you just have a directory somewhere in your system where you keep those, then would be easy enough. But if you put them on a GitHub repo, like we already saw, then you have like these really long URLs. Then it becomes more difficult and very quickly. So one of the things that we thought is like, it would be nice if we could have like an index of things that we could where we could put them all together and easily access them. So that's the web page that I asked you to keep, Emmanuel. I don't know if it's available. If somebody can pull it up.
Yes, let me share that. Again, new platform. Please, sorry people. Yeah, there you go. So Tako has a repo called JBang catalog that you can see here. So github.com/quintes/jbang-catalog, and then he's got a few .java files, which I suppose are some of the JBang. Exactly. Yeah, there you go. You see they're like JBang scripts.
Yeah.
A script being a Java file with, again, just dependencies and then how to get started directly.
Exactly. And if you go back, there is one catalog JSON file, JBang catalog.
There is one, yes.
Yeah. And that actually then is like, it's a grouping of aliases. So it's like it defines alias, the name, the description, and so to make it easier. So that's then what we call a catalog file, where you can have an index of those scripts that are in that directory. So if we switch back to my terminal, I can now actually do a catalog add with a name demo and then a URL to that file. And if I then it's now added, and if I now say, for example, I keep typing that wrong, alias list demo, then it shows me the files that the scripts that I have in that index. And you can actually see, for example, here that
you namespace it by the name of the catalog that you get.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just added a catalog called demo, and it shows me what I would need to run. So if I say JBang hello at demo, then it will run that. So that's already nice. So if you have lots of those scripts, then it's an easier way to get. But it's still a little bit too difficult, because you still need to have that entire URL to that index file. So we went until the next step, which is what we call implicit catalogs, and which is basically if I have a repository either on GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket, I can actually say my username with the repo name, And it will go look for a JBang catalog in that repo, and if it finds it, it will use that without having to manually add it. So I can do this without having done anything before. And it goes even a step further. If that catalog is called JBang catalog, we don't need to say that either. So I can actually say hello at Quintessa, and then it will go look for a catalog file inside a JBang catalog repository, either in the user Quintessa, either on Bitbucket or on GitHub or GitLab. So that makes it suddenly really easy to share things with people. We know that we have, for example, an echo. I think there was an echo on JBang Dev, right?
Or properties at JBang Dev, that one.
Yeah, properties. That one. JBang Dev. So I haven't done it before. I just asked Max about this. It will go look for the JBang user, the JBang catalog repository, and it downloads the catalog file, looks for a property script in there, and then runs that script. So it becomes really, really easy to share scripts with people.
We have a question at this point. You want to take it now or later?
Yeah, we can.
I'm at the end of, for me, this is what I wanted to talk about.
Okay. So the question is, the files that are being downloaded from the internet, will the user be able to edit them and run them again?
So right now, no, but we want to get to a point where you can. So if you can, they are in the cache, you can go and fetch them and create them, but there's no easy way of doing it. But I do want to do like a JBang fork or something, like take that and make it something you can edit. But right now, it's...
By the way, same related question, is the catalog like fetched every now and then to get the updates?
It has an update command. So just like if you would do with your packets manager or whatever, or SDK man or brew or whatever, you update once in a while. There is an internal discussion about Max wanting to do that automatically, and I wanting to have it manually, and it's.
I think right now the catalog actually is fetched at a time, but there will be an update.
Yeah. So Sean has an idea of using export here, flaky.
Yeah.
Dash export.
An export for the Java file.
Well, when you download it from the internet, right? Like to have an export so you could save it like somewhere predictable. I mean, obviously, like Max said, now you can have it in the cache somewhere, but no one's going to know how to figure it out. Yeah. I can figure out where it is.
Yeah, it's something like JBang edit the catalog name and then say, oh, edit it as something else. But yes, so right now, no, that's not an easy way for doing it, but you can by a little bit of minor stuff.
A quick question for people in there. So just it's a ad break. Let's call it that way. Is I see comments from YouTubers, but also from
Twitch.
Something, something couple. So it's interesting. If you can tell us in the comments, like, hey, I prefer Twitch, but I knew about the YouTube channel, or this is my platform, and then I didn't know about you before. So that's interesting to see, how we're faring in that area. So or whatever questions you can think of, and just around this multi-platform, just put that down in the chats, and we'll definitely listen.
I see this question, for example, about somebody saying like, hey, wow, I'm still using Java 8, have to catch up to Java 11, which is actually one of the things that I think is such a great advantage of JBang, and the fact that it can automatically download the necessary JDKs, is that you can say like, hey, I can, just for this, I can use the latest version 14, for example, with the latest features, or even newer versions that are not in public release yet or whatever, because you don't have to worry about the user not having that version, because it will be installed for them if they don't have it. So you don't have to go for the greatest common denominator. And it's like, okay, I'll do it with Java 8 because then at least I know that 80% or more of the people will have it.
So that's a good segue to questions I wanted to ask. Like, if people have to remember 3 things about when JBang is great compared to doing it the normal way, like what would it be for you? What would be the top list of why you want to choose JBang versus something else?
You want me
to answer first?
Yeah, for me, it was because that was also the reason I started working on JBang. Because first of all, I always say it's like, I'm a Java engineer, first and foremost. It's like, of course, I know all kinds of other programming languages and scripting languages and Bash and whatever. I can use anything. So, but if I need like this quick and dirty solution to something I need now, you always go back to Bash, Python, whatever, and then I need to go to Google and look it up, even how to do a for loop or something like that, because I just don't use it enough to have it right there in my memory. So I was like, why can't we use Java for that? Because there I have everything already in my head. It's like, and up to now we couldn't. So that's the one really, really big advantage of JBang, that you can use that easiness, that feeling you already have with Java, and you know all the dependencies that do what you need to be doing. So that's definitely one thing. And then the second thing for me is like, I want to go to the point where it becomes so easy for people who are not Java engineers and who don't even have Java installed and are not planning to install Java because they never use it, to still be able to use a script like this, because it's so easy to do that you just see a tweet or whatever and they just copy and paste and they get it to work, which is something that we need if you want to have a Java scripting solution. You don't want people first to have to install JBang and Java and Maven and whatever. It's like then you've already lost large part of the non-Java developer audience.
Hey, you wanted to add one more? Or
well, it was a segue to what I was going to continue.
Well, I do have one. So
okay.
So there are 2 questions which actually are, one is like, what about multiple scripts? Can I, would it be a horrible idea to write any usable tool in a single file? And somebody's like, what the hell? This is the Quarkus Insights podcast. So what are you guys, pushing your own little toy?
I'll get to it right now if you can let me speak right now. So yeah. So if you can share my screen again, Georgia. So let me just. Yeah, so basically the first half is just, this is JBang. I'll get into the multi-file and Quarkus in just 2 seconds. So Ban and Karen, just wait 2 seconds. So basically JBang goal was not to target enterprise Java and complex, full applications. It was just, I want to make Java as easy accessible as JavaScript or Bash or Python or whatever other script you have out there, right? That was my first kind of goal of doing it. And Tako kind of, what you just described was like, that was made me, when I first built it, like, this is what I want to make it happen. And then as we started adding stuff, like getting it from URL, I could get from a tweet, I can get it from GitLab or GitHub, any raw URL. And the catalog, I thought, hey, we suddenly have a very good distribution mechanism here. And the real power was that when I actually built JBang and started using it, I was a heavy Python and Bash script user. I made all kind of automations in that. I have not done it since I made it because I don't need to. And I just want to, like, for maybe keep people to go a little what this can do. So this is actually me calling a script called Groovy in Max Anderson's catalog. And it's actually sending Groovy into it. So I'm just going to say, go run. And that's actually Groovy being printed. So this is just like showing JBang on its own lets you kind of bridge all kind of gaps. You don't have to set anything up. There's no Maven, there's no Gradle, there's no downloading of Ruby or anything else. You can just run it by these scripts. So that was kind of like this, what JBang was good at. Then I started to think, I want to try and run Quarkus apps with JBang, because I actually want to do command mode and use command mode from Quarkus, because Quarkus has this whole program model. But I tried, and the problem is Quarkus relies on some build time stuff. But look and behold, this is why we're here now. You can just use Quarkus. So I'm going to show you. This is a Quarkus app. This is the, if you notice down here, this is like the hello world of Quarkus we have everywhere else. It's a path application scoped Quarkus. The only thing that's added right now is this publish server main that starts Quarkus. We will, once we get to 1.9 or something, I hope to not require it. But right now it is just because of how JBang works. And up here I just say things you should recognize, the / user we talked about. It depends on REST EC, which is actually the only thing I need to run this, but I'm also asking OpenAPI, Spacker UI, and container image just to do a bit more. And then I say Java options.
So you can't rely on the BOM at this stage.
Currently, no. We will get there, but right now you have to do the explicit
versions. Yeah.
Yes.
Things you want.
So, and one thing you also have to do is this Java options util locking manager the whole way. That's also something you can remove in the future, but right now you have to specify it, otherwise the logging gets weird. And then we have q:config, which is something JBang doesn't look at, but the Quarkus integration looks at. And it says, I want to set these properties. Always include an image name. And something here you'll see, it actually also can add external files, not Java files. This was Ben was talking about multi-file scripts. But right now you can add resources like index.html or JavaScript, that kind of thing. This is not meant to be like massive big apps, so it's like one file at a time, but it's good enough for like services. So this makes this thing have an index.html. For multiple file scripts, I'll just say that this the reason why JBang is not 1.0 yet is because I haven't implemented the multi-file script thing. Like when it goes 1.0 is the day we have it. I know how to do it. It's just it takes a little time, so we haven't done it yet because we've realized we can do a lot of stuff without it. But it will come there because now we can do full apps.
Just to clarify, are you talking about files that have those special headers and multiple one of them, or just quarkus.java and then another like a normal whatever.java with no header and just quarkus.java depending on that one?
Actually both, but the one we're talking about here is just I want to, let's say you have an like this endpoint and you want to have some Hibernate Panas entities and you don't want to have them in a separate file. That'll be that kind of thing. So they would not have to have the / user bin env and that kind of thing.
Got it.
But they could, right? So let me just run this so you can see what goes on. So I just go JBang Quarkus Java. It builds a Java, and it'll say here, it says post build with IO Quarkus long-term JBang integration. So JBang itself does not have any dependency in Quarkus. But what JBang does is, once it's prepared and compiled its project, it will check in the dependencies, is there anything that wants to contribute? And the implementer that does that is Quarkus. So because I have Quarkus core in the dependency list, it pops up. And you'll see here, this is the index.html that I have loaded. And if I go and say, hello, that's the response from Quarkus.
So it's funny, you use 0.0.0.0.8080, and I tend to use localhost.8080. Any reason you go for 0.0.0.0?
Just that's the default that we use anywhere else. So
do we?
Localhost will give you 127.0.0.1. 0.0.0 will give you any port, any IP you have on the machine with 8080. I think I forgot what it is.
Yeah,
but,
that's the deal.
Yeah. Right. So let's say if you do 0.0, you bind up, it will bind. You have two network cards. It will go to one of them, and then if you use a browser, you'll find the right one.
Well, what Emmanuel I think is saying is basically you usually need to do the 0.0 thing on the application side, not the client side. On the client side, you'd rather do localhost or 127.0.0.1.
Yeah, it's just that's what it says here. So
Yeah.
I just go to that, right? No,
Oh, it does.
No
Funny.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that new, or I've been blind for so long?
You've been blind.
Interesting.
You're just trying to find fault in what I'm doing. No,
I'm just learning. Hey, look, I'm doing this show just to learn stuff. So I don't care about other people.
So anyway, so this is, suddenly, like, and you notice this product has a lot of files, but there is. Let me just go and make it very clear. I'm just gonna copy this Quarkus Java to the demo dir. Right. Oh, I had one. I removed my head. There we go. Right. That's the only thing I have here to run it, and JBang installed. There's no Maven. There's no Quarkus. I need the index.html just to be. There we go. Right. That's it. It's just sources. Everything else is handled by JBang's assumptions and defaults, which right now I just
for me the console is stuck. Is that for you guys as well, or is it just me?
No, it works here.
Okay.
Can you reopen Quarkus.java? Because I thought the index would be in the meta-env / resource blah blah blah. But you say that there is a default here equal. I didn't see that. Maybe
so this is actually the first version I did this. It actually said files index HTML equals meta-env. That's the reverse.
Yeah.
But what Tako actually gave good feedback is that's actually becomes a problem when you start having, you want to have the same file in multiple places. So what you have on the left side is the destination, like where you want to mount it to, basically. You see it as a mount point. So it's like a
I would have used an arrow, but index.html arrow, then the target.
Sure.
Or whatever.
But yeah, so that's the thing, and then the next thing comes. I have another example. So, for example, Quarkus CLI. So this is what I wanted to do. I didn't want to do a server side. I wanted to do a CLI for it.
And it seems that's what Sebastian wanted as well, because he's saying, "Show us command mode script."
Exactly. So this thing is actually something, because we did this. The combining JBang and Quarkus happened like 10 days ago. So we haven't had that much experience. I could try it. So I could try to see how far could I go. And I'll show you in this stuff, there's stuff you won't need later on. It's just that we haven't integrated completely into JBang integration, but I just had to put them there to get it to work. But in the future, you don't have to. So again, this is just using Quarkus Pico CLI. So I don't have to use anything else because Pico CLI depends on the core. I'm using test containers here just to, I want to start some containers. I set up the Quarkus banner enable equals false and lock level 1 so it doesn't get noisy. And you'll see here it says Quarkus main, command line command, runnable Quarkus. So these are the things that in the future you won't have to do, the Quarkus main and Quarkus application. We can figure that out.
Command line command is Pico CLI stuff, right?
Yes, right. So the goal was to not have, this line should not be there, and this thing shouldn't be there.
Okay.
And then this would not have to be there, and everything will be fine. So this is a Pico CLI command mode thing. And if I run this, oops, you'll see. It should go. It goes and get the Pico CLI test container. So I don't use test container as an example. And it builds. And if I run again, Pico. Oh, that's actually. Oh, you see, that's actually Pico CLI telling me I don't know how to use my own program. I just used the argument. It says hello Pico. Right? So that's the basic stuff. You can run JBang with Quarkus. but just like you can on JBang with any other Java app now. But where things becomes really interesting is we can also use the extensions that we have in Quarkus. So I can actually do, you'll see here in the, so I'm not going to do this, I'm just going to show you because it takes time on a machine, but I can go and say JBang -d Quarkus container image build equals true, build Quarkus Java. And now it will actually trigger, that's, sorry, it's the wrong example. I have one where it uses puts JIP on the container class path. It will then use our built-in JIP support to build the container image. So already today, you can take
so JBang build is the JIP support, or what is JBang build essentially?
So let me show you here. The Quarkus, didn't I have it here? I think I did. Yes, so this is the wrong one. So you'll see here there is a dependency called Quarkus container image JIP. That's a Quarkus extension that doesn't add anything to the runtime. It's a build time thing that can build a container with JIP. We also have for Docker and for S2I, and we have similar for Kubernetes and Quarkus, not Quarkus, for OpenShift to deploy. But here we're just using the build container thing. So
that build command, does it come from?
I think, I'm also asking about the build command.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. This build here is the JBang's build command. It says, so it basically doesn't run. So it builds the Quarkus app, but doesn't do the run. And this thing here is literally just passing into Quarkus. While you are doing your build processing, also do the container build.
Okay. Oh, and that's the Quarkus IO Quarkus JBang integration that intercept that and say, hey, I want to participate to the build. And then.
Yes, okay. Correct. Right. And the cool thing is we can also do JBang native and URL Quarkus app Java. I'm not going to do it here because my machine is going to run crazy of compiling it. But this will behind the scene. If I have GraalVM installed, it runs GraalVM. If I don't, it runs via Docker, and you get a container image that has the native stuff in it.
Do you need build? Are you missing build here?
No. Well, if I do this, this corresponds to run, which means build and run.
Okay.
And if I do this, it just does the build.
Okay.
Right. So, but other things you can do just to getting to the end. Here's one that's a bit more complicated. This example is from the metrics, Quarkus metrics guide, and it's like line for line, the exact same thing, except there's a main method down here at the bottom. And at the top, I have these dependencies. So if I now do go here and do Quarkus metrics Java, this starts up. This doesn't have an indexable page, so it's going to be a very boring page, but that doesn't matter. So if so if I say 42, it puts in the number, and this is the example that's on our website. And if I go here, I put metrics, boom, that's the metrics endpoint. Right? So these it has all the features that Quarkus has, all for container native, just without having to have a single POM file or a Gradle file or that kind of thing. And that's the power of this, right? Like that you have the full simplicity of JBang and Java and like scripting and all that little world tied into a world of, let's call it, full enterprise container build system, container enterprise system. And you don't have to, like, if you're just writing microservices or like functions, this allows us to make there's literally no overhead. Like we removed all mental overhead of these other tools. I do want to say this doesn't mean that Gradle and Maven is irrelevant. Once you start doing like multi-module projects and you start doing all these crazy things, then sure, I wouldn't recommend JBang for it. At least not the shape it is today. But for writing, simple services or command line clients that has access to the full Quarkus API and microprofile and Java EE and that whole shebang, this opens up for that.
So get started faster, and until you reach the limit, and then you convert your project into something a bit bigger, right? With a proper BOM or Gradle build.
And there we don't have it now, but literally the edit command, what it does behind the scene is create a Gradle project. But there's nothing. We will end up having like a export to Gradle or export to Maven that literally just takes the thing and puts it into a traditional thing, and you can go from there. So that's the idea.
Max, I was wondering if you perhaps would like to still show that latest thing that we tried, where you can just use code, that you showed that you can use just code from anywhere. I've pasted it in Zulip, but it's like the one that we had, the Pico CLI demo that they had, and that.
Well, you figure that out. People, if you have any questions, please shoot them up with the small latency. It's we're gonna have just 1.5 minutes to answer, so just shoot them right now before we get that stream.
And Sebastian is saying that he wants to try writing a Knative service using this JBang Quarkus integration.
Yes.
And
I was just going to say that we are, this week, we're going to meet with the Knative guys on actually how this fits into their model. Because this is literally also the whole funky stuff. Like I want to have JBang be able to support funky. Well, it does today. You just have, it's a bit funky. It's also not funky. It's a bit bad name. It's a bit complicated. Clunky, yes. But the idea is that we can hook it up with Knative and their EC setup.
But we already have like the support for GitHub Actions, for example. So you can actually write GitHub Actions based on JBang.
Yeah, that's actually one of the big thing I did. Oh, sorry.
No, it's just it came to me that you had Kotlin script, Groovy scripts, and nobody ever did a JavaScript, shim.
No one ever did JavaScript? Are you sure that's right?
No. I mean, Groovy scripts. Okay. I'm just realizing that. I had very little sleep tonight, so just be gentle with me.
Well, it's one of the things that we talked about is that Java since I think version 9 is it that has like the J shell thing, but of course that it's like a REPL. So it's still plain Java, so you're missing out on the whole dependency stuff. So the whole thing that all the other platforms have, like the Python and Node and whatever, is like all of them have like this whole environment where you can have downloaded packages, and you have them at the tips of your hand. It's like of your fingers. It's like you don't have to download them or specify them. You just you just define them somewhere in a package JSON or whatever, and they get downloaded automatically. So in Java, that's always been way more difficult to do. So it's like you really need an entire project, and the moment you set that up, then it's not scripting anymore. You need all this directory structure, files, etc.
And to answer to comment on your thing there, Emmanuel, I actually, once I built it, I realized there must be someone else who's done this before, and there are a few that done similar, but they just haven't they haven't done it completely. So but Groovy and KScript does it. So they're there. The one thing that Tako
we're at the top of the hour, by the way.
Yeah, I just want to show here. This is actually an example that is from the Pico CLI. It has nothing to do with JBang. It's just a piece of code that got posted somewhere. An example of how to use an API. So this could be anything. A Pico CLI, show a REST API, something else. But the thing is, it has a main method, right? So you can actually run it. but it doesn't have any JBang. But because we can combine, I can fetch stuff and compile I can add arguments as a dependencies via Maven on the command line. I can actually run this example. And you'll see this thing with the trust thing. I'm just going to trust this once. And it runs this example and runs it down, right?
So next level, you should be able to say from this line to that line and ignore that one. Like an ASCII doc thing.
Yeah.
Well, maybe there is no value in that, but that could be interesting.
You can, so this is you can do all crazy kind of things. So what we didn't show here is we actually do fully support the JShell stuff. We actually make JShell useful in the fact that JShell by default has no understanding of dependencies, arguments, or system properties. So there's even if I got it to compile, I can run it, but I can't give it input. It's just this weird thing. JBang JShell sets this up, so you can actually run a single line Java app in a script in JBang.
All right. Let's go today.
That was an hour. And I'll just say that we are trying to. It's Labor Day in US, so it's probably it's quiet today. But next week or the week after, we're trying to get the Quarkus hackathon winners on board. At least that's the plan. Okay. So that's the next one.
So please subscribe wherever we are. It's too many to count nowadays. But YouTube, Twitch. What are the other ones?
Facebook, LinkedIn. We're everywhere.
LinkedIn, we're professionals. Not yet. Okay. No. We're not yet professionals, but we're coming.
Yeah. So yeah.
All right. Thank you guys, and see you next week.
Thanks everybody.
See you all, by the way, rather.
Bye bye,
guys.